Hi Rajah, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Great to see you.
So,
We have few more a minute or so, then we can just start on it. So how's Trivandrum? How's weather?
yeah, good now. Like bit hot, but yeah, fine. So it's yeah, almost 4, right?
So are we good to start?
Yeah, yeah, fine. I think it's yeah, for it's fine in LinkedIn as well. I think.
Okay. Yeah. So then I think we can just wait for a minute or so till the people join.
Yeah, I think we have enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, thank you very much, Raja. It is great having you for this informal chat. So, for the audience or the people who are also in the forum, just a quick introduction to Raja. Raja is the co-founder and director of Beagle Security, and the Beagle Security is into automated, comprehensive penetration testing platform, catering to around 1,600 customers globally on the penetration testing side. So, Raja, I know you for a very long time. So, for at least in the last 12, 13 years' time, you are actively involved on the penetration testing. And you are one of the prominent guys or technically deep rooted guy on the penetration testing. And you also published two books on this area, one on the effective Python penetration testing and on the Python penetration testing cookbook, two different books on that. So give us a view because I always wanted or tried my best to do something on the penetration testing or to be a ethical hacker, but I was not very successful on that. Give us a light on saying that how's that journey of that 13 years as a penetration tester, getting into manual activities. How was it?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to witness the evolution of cybersecurity practices, firsthand during my career. Um, During the early stages of my career as a manual penetration tester, I have spent countless hours doing penetration testing, like manually probing networks, applications, or uh, try to uncover security weaknesses. Like at that time there was an over reliance on manual penetration testing. At that time itself I thought of doing that in an automated way, and started writing small Python scripts that could ease work that I do on a repetitive way in different websites, so in different endpoints. So usually I write the scripts and change the specific areas whenever I need. That's how I started writing automation scripts for penetration testing at the first stage. Later, when I thought of converting that to a book, or giving it as a book, or help others the same way they could do, how to automate the penetration testing. Uh, in an automated way in using Python. That was the first thought, and I thought of giving it as a book. And writing a book is always overwhelming, but rewarding at the end. Totally worth the effort that we working on. Like um, I published those two books in 1 year span, so it was kind of hectic at that time. Uh, but once I had the experience of writing the first one, which is effective Python penetration testing, and then the second was much easier. It was more like a sequel. Like I decided to attempt to write a book as I was eager to share my knowledge and expertise with a wider audience. Like I wanted the book to be as actionable as possible, so I took hands-on approaches by providing step-by-step recipes that readers can use to develop their penetration testing skills using Python.
So, Rajay, you mentioned about creating script while doing the manual penetration testing activity. I think many techies does that because they can the repetitive task or the simple task they wanted to automate on that. But at some stage, you decided to move heavily to an automated penetration testing, be it through a platform. And that's where you started this company or co-founded this company, Beagle, for an automated penetration testing platform. Can you just say that what triggered from that manual testing activity to the automated penetration? Is it because of the large number of testing requirement coming out, the shift? What was the trigger? How did you conceive that?
That's mainly because the manual effort we have to put to do a penetration testing. Like normally to do a manual penetration testing or of a medium-sized application, it will take around 15 days, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks. That is the minimum effort we have to take. Like uh, to overcome that, only possible way is to automate it to an extent, like writing our own script. That was the initial stage, but when we have more work to cover and less time to spend on it, uh, we will start depending on the automation in a larger level. Like, and at the and that's why we started building Beagle Security. Like a lot of human intelligence involved in the process, like a penetration testing. Like automated scanners fail to perform a similar level of penetration testing, or it's always a automated scanning. Normally everyone tend to use a scanner or a tool uh, that works on a defined inputs, which can limit the scope, uh, thereby resulting in undetected vulnerabilities in the application as such. So even we try to automate it, we have to do it in a more intelligent way. So there is a part of artificial intelligence or machine learning come into picture. Like we have to decide like a human penetration tester to the same way we have to decide in during the penetration testing process. So that's why when we started building Beagle Security, we thought of addressing that as well by adding AI and intelligence, like identifying the web application same in the same way as a penetration tester do, and do the automation in that way.
So I come from an old school of security to a great extent because I started my career almost in full-time security around 22 years back. So that's why the reason for inviting you for this call also is to understand some of the misconceptions or lack of awareness for the people like me to clear on that. So let me ask you a fundamental. You touched a bit on that. What is the fundamental difference between running a web app tool for testing and then leveraging a penetration? Because traditionally there are n number of tools available. the open sources and the commercial ones, where I can use it like I'm just taking for the sake of the name an app scan type of a tool, where I can run against an application security for testing. So where does the differentiation of an individual tool running against a platform which runs the entire automated testing, which also addresses the issues of manual testings or the intervention of a human record, which you touched a bit on? Can you just say that difference?
Main difference is as I mentioned, like nowadays applications are very different and complex in the architecture perspective itself. Like nowadays, even a human penetration tester cannot make sure the coverage of the testing due to the complexity of the application architecture. If the application is well architected, it will be complex in nature when it's come to the penetration testing side of it. So running a simple penetration testing tool which limited inputs, the coverage will be heavily affected. Like it can't go up more than a level. Like it can create their own its own attack vectors, or its own payloads, or even it can't bypass a login or authenticated scenario which comes other than the normal scenarios of a password email password combination. So to make sure the coverage in automated penetration testing tools, uh, normal tools, we need to have a better understanding of the login methodologies that the advanced or new kind of web applications uses, like um, OTP based logins, like or magic links. To address that kind of authentication, we need to identify the type of authentication in the application and address that in a intelligent way. Like there will be third party login scenarios like Google, Facebook, or LinkedIn logins. So in that scenarios as well, in a manual penetration testing, the tester will decide the login flow, but in automated way that will fail in many cases. And also the decision making skill, it's not there in the app or the normal scanners. So it will be testing only the test cases that listed in the in that
So,
tool.
so Raja, if I understand correctly, what you're saying is that an individual tool has a specific function based on the input we are giving it out. It will give that
Yeah.
specific output. So, for a comprehensive activity, you may need multiple tools to come together, which is a time-taking activity, cost-driven activity, and that's how you can do it. But if you are moving to a platform-based solution, you can actually leverage multiple requirement based on the context, multiple tools based on the context, and so you can drive. Is that my understanding correct?
Yes, almost. Like when it's come to Beagle, how we handle it is in a different way. Um, when we start testing, it start the similar way a penetration testing tester starts. It started recurring instances of the application, like collecting information and gathering the information of the application, like how the application is built, what is the tech stack, and how it's configured, kind of things, and identifies the attack vectors initially, like spinning up the application in a browser and identifying the entry points in it and filling it up intelligently with the use case scenarios initially, and finally like a human, it identify how it works, and then it decides what the attack scenarios need to be tested, or how to craft the test case on a abuse cases based test cases as well. So in each set of test cases, the output is then analyzed by the another set of scripts or another set of test cases, and based on that, it will decide the next set of test cases. For example, if a web application is identified by a exposed .git repository. So firstly, when we identify that it's leaking its code base, Beagle will select a set of next generation test cases, like going through the code base and analyzing whether any leaked credentials are available. So if there is a leaked credentials available, it will consider it as the next set of test cases. And if it's a AWS account credential, then what it will do is next try to enumerate data or access the AWS account and identify whether a account compromise can be done. That's the level of test cases that we can achieve with intelligently automating a penetration testing.
So Raja, that makes a sense on that, because what you are saying is that it is not a standard factory approach where everybody gets the same custom approach, but you are actually understanding the context and the environment at various stages, and your testing approaches are also tailor made or change continuously based on the output you get with each of this testing activity. Because the reason this Adarsh Pandey has asked a question here, or was putting his concern asking, saying, can we automate the security? But what I understood from you is that we are not saying that the end-to-end we are doing it, but the testing part, which we can actually do through, because now we have a lot of intelligence or artificial intelligence, machine learning, a lot of technologies available to help us out to create or customize the entire activity based on the context which we operate. Is that a fair assumptions I can understand from that?
Yes, exactly.
Subsequently, let me ask you, because as I mentioned earlier, that old school of thing is still pulling me at some point. So there are a lot of misconception about the automated penetration testing adequacy. So an organizations typically, when should they look at having an automated penetration testing coming to picture? Is it along with a manual, or is it completely that manual should go off and only? So how does that combination work? Because in my personal experience, I have seen environments where, because earlier an application typically used to come for a change was once in few years or once in a year, but now in the modern world, we see application coming at least 3 or 4 times back to the pipeline because of a bug fixing or a feature enhancement, those type of things, where you need more testings to be done. And many a times the capacity available, whichever the, even if it is a very high big team also, the capacity will not be adequate enough. And the agile model is not ready to wait for the testing team to fix all the things and then come with the recommendations. Nobody has the time for it. So considering all of that thing, what is your view of the adequacy of the automated penetration testing, and when should organizations start looking at?
Like with both manual and automated penetration testing has its own advantages and also the limitations. Like I believe that combining the two is the best approach for organizations to get complete understanding of their security posture. Like in smaller organization, what I see working best is a hybrid test approach that involves manual penetration testing in every quarter and automated penetration testing every month or in 2 weeks. Like considering that the threat landscape and applications are changing continuously, you should be keeping close eye on them as well. Like also enterprises can think about combining manual and automated penetration testing in total different ways. Like due to availability of in-house security engineers, a combination of manual and automated means can be used in uh, um, like I said, reconnaissance and information gathering in the initial phase. Then the vulnerability scanning process can be automated in quickly, for large networks and big applications. This can be automated up to an end. Like this provide a useful starting point for the security engineers as well. Like so the security engineers can focus on more complex attack vectors, or more complex business logic test cases as such.
So,
Also,
yeah,
yeah.
please, carry on, carry on.
Also in different levels, like when it come to penetration testing, if a automated penetration testing tool can identify a vulnerability, and which is able to provide or gaining access to the target's network or target's application, a manual penetration tester can explore further and attempt to move laterally, like escalating privileges and gathering sensitive information. That kind of level, we could combine both of these in different ways. Also, nowadays, most of the compliance requirements are compliance reporting also can be automated, like report generation in perspective as well. It can be completely automated without need of a manual penetration tester required to generate the report as such, because the skill gap for security is very high. Like getting a truly skilled penetration tester is nowadays is impossible as such.
No, I agree, especially with the APIs and mobile applications and all the cloud new terminologies coming in. It is getting complex. One of the experience I have is that whenever the applications is not undergoing a major architectural change or a security considerations changes, then it is completely okay to give to automated way of doing it. And but if there is a basic change on the structure of that application itself, the manual also need to be done. That's one of the approach we have done. Raja, now another question is that you do thousands of penetration testing on a monthly basis. Okay, what is the trend you are seeing it? Are we seeing something that the all the vulnerabilities, all the misconfiguration, coding errors, all going off? So what is the trend you are seeing?
Not that good. Like as I mentioned, like the threat landscape also changing very much. But still, we can see a lot of configuration level issues. Earlier, it was the configuration issues with the servers, or basic application configurations. But nowadays, as I mentioned, the complexity of architecture is different, so the configuration levels dependencies are also changed. So still we are seeing configuration level issues, a lot of configuration level issues. And also many big applications we've seen input validation kind of issues. Still there is a even though they have static code analysis kind of things already in place, and everything in place, still we found input validation issues, like not validating properly, which turn leads to injection attacks. Also there are applications which mainly we've seen a lot, like applications and server secrets being revealed due to key leakage in applications itself. Like that's lead to complete compromise. Like if they are leaking AWS key, it's complete account compromise kind of issues. And many cases, adversaries are running their own machines, or mining machines in the networks. I've seen many times. And
So Raja,
still we, yeah.
yeah, it is sad and actually worrying also. If you look at, because I was also surprised with this, because if you look at the last 10 years, or whatever that period is, that the top one of the coding errors, if you look at it, is almost the same. Like you mentioned, the input errors, the SQL injection, the cross-site scripting, everything repeats. Only the orders are slightly changing in the top 10, um, uh, which is which is actually worrying. Now the question is, do you see the developers make the same type of error codes irrespective of their locations, or is it that okay, you will see more say a pattern that a developer from India typically makes this three or four type of mistakes, and somebody coming from US may have a different errors which they make, because maybe the colleges they studied coding, or the workplaces. Do you see a difference on the coding errors between the geos or the regions?
Yes, yes, exactly. Like most of the case, when it's come to developers or who have basic idea or they are passionate about coding, uh, we see less vulnerabilities as such. Like they will be having a basic understanding of the security requirements that they have to follow during coding or secure coding practices. But in another case, mainly the application developed in India or such, we see most cases the vulnerabilities are due to the a basic lack of basic knowledge in secure coding practices. Like uh, many times when at the end when we find the vulnerabilities in the application and ask them like you have to fix this, then they are more worried because uh, the fixing cost will be very higher because they have to change everything in the back end, maybe the packages they are used, even the fixing cost is very high due to the initial lack of initial proper structuring of the application. So an application with proper software development lifecycle attached to the security side, like most of the companies nowadays follow a proper way. Like initially when they start designing, they start analyzing it in a security perspective as well. When they do architecting, they will be having a secure architecting review part. When they start coding, there will be a secure code review process as well. Like if in each step there will be a security part of it, then only we can achieve complete security, or at least we can build the application in a secure way.
I think it is like the driving thing, because when you go for a driving school for a test, because when I went for my driving school in Dubai, I failed last first time. Okay, after driving for 35 years, when I went there, I lost it, and then when I looked at the result, I found all the failures was on the lane discipline. In India, we make sure that when we are on the road, we make sure that everybody is aware that you are in the on the wheels there. But here is that you respect everybody who's driving and make sure that their experience is not affected by yours, by you in the road. The same way, so then the coding also, there could be a similarity, saying that okay, somebody coming from a particular region, their focus will not be on specific area. So in that scenario, shouldn't we actually say that okay, when you are recruiting a developer, basically ask 5 or 10 questions, which we now know these are the top 10 vulnerabilities every majority of the developers make. Why can't this 10 be a question in every interview job questionnaire, to say that only if you clear this 10 you are allowed to be a developer in production? So then at least this 10 will go off. I'm just thinking at that
Yes,
side.
that's actually a mandatory thing. Like at least asking them the mandatory security questionnaire during the interview, or train them in the induction programs they conduct after hiring them
But
in the
Raja, the
field.
question is that it should align with the top vulnerabilities we find also, than
Yeah.
generic on that. So similarly, another question on that: do you see a comparable difference on the way software is constructed, or the architecture side, or the DevOps approach between the regions? Because you cater to global customers. So you see the difference of the different type of application developed by this region. So do you see a difference on the way they construct?
Yeah. That difference is always on a region basis. Uh, Also, and the developers mentality basis actually. Like most of the case, when the team is working on a product, uh, that they will be starting in the initial stage, they will be starting with the proper architecture, and at that time they will be considering all scenarios, like even the DevOps, DevSecOps, security, and also deployment things. Everything need to be considered at the initial stage itself. So an application or a project which is addressed in that way, which is always good in nature, and it has its own advantage in the long run. uh, many cases, like as you mentioned, an application which is built in US or in Europe region, they try to address that in the initial stage itself. Like uh, but when it comes to Asia region, mostly they start without any in basic scenarios, like a startup which start building an application, which their complete architecture will be in a monolithic way at the initial stage. When they grow, and when they have many customers on boarded, then they will think how we could scale the application as such. At that time, they don't have any option to scale it in a simple way. Then they have to think about the scalability options, and that will be a complete restructuring or re-architecting of the platform.
So Raja, I think I agree with that. It is more than the region; it is the maturity of the organization also on how they build it on that. And the similar thought: how relevant is the threat modeling when it comes to building an applications? So have you see a difference between an application started with a threat modeling approach on every controls, every way they structured it, from one which is not done? How relevant is this?
That's what I mentioned. Like in the initial phase itself, when the design review as well, like there all comes the threat modeling part itself. So when we could identify the scenarios, or the possibilities of threats or attack vectors, they will the areas that's more weaker in the application, they could build or change the structure in the application at the early stage itself. Like in the architectural level scenarios, if they could identify or properly design that, or properly conduct a threat analysis in the application, or in the infrastructure, or the the structure they create, the initial analysis will help them to identify the weak points and add more areas of uh, security or protection into them at the initial stage itself.
Raja, in the last 10, 12 years time, you in this thing, you have seen a lot of changes which is around us. If you look at now the microservices, APIs, containers, Kubernetes, lot of new terminologies and new approaches has come into picture. Agile, Scrum, everything is coming into picture. And earlier we had a standard set of development tools, the Java or the C. We know exactly. Now there are so many new things are coming into picture. How do you see the and security team per se is struggling because most of the security guys are not coming from an application development background, so they are having a struggle on providing the right oversight. And that also the agile approach has made things everything faster. And more applications are now getting exposed to internet, and more attacks are happening on that vectors. Okay, so now how do you see the maturity on when you assess things on all of that?
You mean the security side of it, or the testing,
from
security
a
testing side of it?
from a testing portion of that, because you see all this application, because I know that you are very specialized on API side, and a lot of concerns are there on API side also. Now how do you see the development practices? Is it really getting matured, or what's your view?
Like yeah, over the years, like architecture of applications has become more complex. So that's correct. And so has the security risk associated with the components like microservices, APIs, and containers as such. Like in both perspective, like as you mentioned, testers will not be that much skilled, otherwise they are passionate about it. In most cases, uh, the security engineers are, they will be very passionate, as they are always thinking out of the box and finding vulnerabilities. So they will be passionate about the work, so they usually train themselves, or they try to learn new things on the go. That's why the security engineers will be mostly, they if they are passionate, they will be able to cope up with the changes that's happening. But that's completely depend on the person who is doing the penetration testing side. Like even if the application is built on a complex way, and if that is tested by a person, or a person who is not aware of the architecture properly, he will be doing the testing, or test cases as same as of the old ones. So in security testing, the test cases won't be much different. So it's completely depend on his skill at some points. Otherwise, we have to depend mainly on the automation side of it. So like when a user, like when a penetration tester could identify a exposed Kubernetes cluster, or a container registry, if he know what to do with it, then only he can exploit that, or he then only he can identify the vulnerabilities related to it. So configuration management practices, and API, poorly secured APIs, and unauthorized access to the APIs. These are the kind of vulnerabilities that we find associated with the API security part of it. So security testers also need to understand those new scenarios in the architectural ways. So when we say, we always say security engineers, not security testers, because they should at least aware of the technology, and at least how the developer think during the coding, like how the code works, how the basic things work, how the configuration work. That need to be aware of the security engineer as well. So
So
we
Rajat,
always say, yeah.
in reality, the life of a developer is very tough, because if you look at, he's under tremendous pressure on timelines. The requirements are continuously changing. Okay, they've been asked to deliver something which is wish list, where they have to do a lot of activities. That's why you see a lot of the commonly publicly available codes are getting used. A lot of because at the end of the day, the objective is to rush to make this happen, and none of them has studied any of this new technology in their college academic programs. These are all changed and came afterwards on that, and that also emphasized the need for more and more testing and rigorous testing and frequent testings requirements also in the industry. Now, just on before coming to Sangeeta Patel has asked a question on the threat modeling scenario. So let me just take it on a basic normal one, which for it's a basic level. You develop a website, and then you are waiting for your subscribers to come and access your website. Then somebody, the threat modeler, will come and say, what if some unauthorized user trying to come in? Okay, then I have to put a password there. So now the threat model second scenario comes in picture and saying that, what if they try to break the password on that? Okay, we'll make it to 8 digit or 12 digit. The next question will be, what if they still try to do a brute force? Okay, let us put a MFA there. So the threat models look at saying various threat associated with that component to that service or entry point, and based on that, we design the compensating controls or the architecture of the applications to avoid that. That's the basic of threat modeling, the way I understood.
Yes, yes.
So yeah,
Almost
Raja.
like a penetration testing that we did before we build the application. Like with the architecture, we think of the possible scenarios of the attacks that will happen on this application, and identify the loopholes before it's even built, and uh, build the controls over it. That's how that's what threat modeling means.
So can you explain, because related to that, because I know a lot of your customers are loving you because of the word comprehensive assessment you do. Okay. How would you explain this comprehensive testing offered by Beagle? And also in that scenario, do you consider threat models when you are doing a testing? Because you are testing use cases or the scenarios, does it cover related to the threat models, which is current at that point of time also?
uh, it, it's uh, uh, it's kind of like it's kind of threat modeling, but what Beagle Security gives is an entirely automated hackers level perspective of an application security. Okay, it like normally when we do a manual penetration testing, it will take around 15 days, but what Beagle try to achieve is completing it within 1 or 2 days. So it's automating the entire process, like with just putting your application's URL and clicking a button. We will start in-depth penetration testing in the background. Like it's an intelligent test engine with multiple test cases. Like we have around 3,000 plus test cases, which also learns by its own. Like if it could identify specific test cases, or specific vulnerability in a specific version of the application, it will test the same, or it will try to test that in the same application stack, if that could identify it. So, also it have the decision making capabilities, like a human do. Like identifies the technology stack of an application and performing specific attack scenarios, provides improved login detection, ability to authenticate complex login procedures, and like human like automation to perform in-depth penetration tests, and like perform multiple level of result verification and reduce false positive and ensure the accuracy of the result, and also prepare a report which is mostly understandable by a developer who are going to fix the issues, like preparing a contextual report as well. And report will be also provide how to fix the vulnerability, and also you will be getting a reports which can be a compliance based reports as well. That's why
So
we yeah
no, tell me, please, Raja. Sorry.
yeah that's why we mention it like a
Call
human like
comprehensive.
automation for penetration testing and comprehensive itself.
No, I agree with that, because that is the limitation with the manual penetration testing also, because he or she has always the constraint of time available for them to complete the activity. So there is a checklist of use cases, and they run it to make sure the basics has been covered. Many a times, interactive ones or I'm not getting the right word on that, because based on your output, you change the method approach. That's only very rarely it happens, unless until it is a very critical application where you need that level of granular testing is required on that. Now, a question was asked by Nasruddin was that, does it the same applicable on the network devices and the endpoints, or is it only limited to the web applications?
Currently, Beagle mainly works on web applications, API, and GraphQL endpoints. But in the backend, our team is working on mobile application security testing and also a network penetration testing as well. But that features are in the pipeline.
But my understanding, you're already in advanced stage to release that.
Yeah, like already we have a API penetration testing platform built in. So for mobile application penetration testing, we just need to identify the APIs which is associated with the mobile application. Also, to handle the mobile application in a dynamic automation way, like we do that in the mobile in web application. And also we have a tunneling option inbuilt for the internal application penetration testing. So the same tunnel we can use for network penetration testing as well. So we are in a stage we are piloting that
Yeah.
areas actually.
Raja, Afras has asked a question saying that how effectively prioritize threats identified during the threat modeling process to ensure most critical issues are addressed first. So the question is that you have, say, you said 3,500 scenarios are there. Now, how do you prioritize and say? Because let me give my view on that first. When you are doing a threat modeling to design an application, it is not on the prioritization there. You may have to do consider all applicable based on the environment. When I say environment, even on a vulnerability management also, once you after the finding comes in, typically you put a scoring saying that is it an internet facing one, is it a regulatory one, does it carry the PI PHI data within that application, yeah, what is the impact of, is it a front end revenue generating application. So there are criteria and weightages associated, and then you look at the vulnerability and say is it an exploitable vulnerability, is it the CVE score is high. So around 10-15 different parameters add up to a particular score, and based on your appetite you say that a score of a scale of 10, if the score is above 7, then it is a priority, you need to make it sure it has been done, or 5 to 7 is okay if you have a compensating control. So that's how you do it. Raja, I understand that you give a very comprehensive reporting back to various level on your findings. So how do you address this part where Arfas has highlighted?
Yeah, same way. Like we identify mainly the likelihood and the impact of the vulnerability, like how easily that vulnerability can be exploited, and how much is the impact of the vulnerability. Based on that, we will create a score: critical, low, critical, high, medium, and low, or very low, like very low or informational bug. So we consider at least critical and high should be fixed uh, uh, before the next testing.
Okay. So now the other question is, when you are doing this automated testing, the comprehensive one, how does that integrate with the sec DevOps models or a pipeline? And also, we had a question from one of our friend is saying that Saurav has asked any framework for developers to use in the agile world.
Okay, yeah, in the agile world, like most cases, why penetration testing can be continuously done is the same reason, because it take too much time to complete, like 15 to 20 days for each release. A penetration testing won't be possible. So there the only solution is to do a automation for it. So that's why even though it will take around 24 hours to 48 hours to complete the penetration testing, but that can be affordable. Like in a timeline perspective, we can include or test the application at least once per release. Like most cases, the companies will be having, or the projects will be having a release cycle of 2 weeks, like a sprint basis. So if each sprint we could trigger a penetration testing automated in an automated way, and they will be getting a report, or in our case, it can be directly integrated with the um, bug tracking tools or communication platform from the infrastructure itself. Like when an application is built and deployed, then they could trigger the test directly from the CI/CD pipeline, and that will trigger the test from our end, and Beagle will do the in-depth test. And finally, when the test is completed, the report will be, or the bugs will be updated to a Jira or Asana or Azure boards, anywhere in the bug tracking tool. So the complete flow is completed, like initiating and getting the report in the platform. So the team need not to be worried about the penetration testing automation at all. Uh, that's how we take it in an agile way. Like
So, Raja, the question is that what stage an application comes to your platform? Is it a pre-production stage before release they wanted a confirmation, or is it on the early stages of a because the way we see is that if you can do it at the early stages, it is easy to fix because same developer will be available, he'll have a context, he can fix it much faster. But if it is on a later stages or done after the production release, then the developer would have moved to somewhere else, somebody has to start. So there is a lot of complexity, the dollar associated with that. So what stage does Beagle come into picture for testing activity?
in our cases, both cases are there. Like most of the automation comes in the early stages. Like usually they test it in the staging environment or in the development environment. Once they release the application to the staging, they will trigger a test, and they will be fixing that on a sprint basis. And that's pre-production basis testing is happening. And usually customers configure an automation on a monthly basis for the production setup. So they will be having a testing report for the production on a monthly basis as well, so that they can use that for the compliance purpose as well.
So Saurav has asked a question: if the applications are different from each other, how do you do the automation? Because yeah, my understanding is when I say applications are different, so you may be able to answer better, Raja.
Yeah, like
You take by
each
per
and
instances, yeah.
each and every application is different. So ours is not just a automation that's we write on an application basis. It's a global one. That's why we call it as an human-like automation for penetration testing. So just like each application, we will be loading that in an app in a browser, and identifying the application entry points, like if we could find a email filling field, uh, our engine will be filling that and submitting that form. So yeah, like a human do, and identifying the links and each and every entry points that the application could identify. And that's the kind of automation we built. That's why it's work for all kind of applications. Even if it's a single page application, it can be automated.
Got it. Now, we are see, are there publicly available open source penetration testing to the platforms available? Dr. Nurul has asked this question.
Yeah, there are a lot of penetration testing tools available
So,
online, but
did you get the
yeah, but main problem with that is that, like that can be used by a security engineer. If the person who is using that tool, uh, they need a basic understanding of the architecture of the application, or how the security thing works. Then only he can do the testing and with the tools. Finally, you will be getting a report as well, but that report may not be understandable by a developer, which need
so
a
yeah.
yeah,
So
explanation from a
it is addressing only one portion of the problem, which is that you
yes,
get a tool to run it, but you're not uh, the activities on that got it. So
yeah.
now, see, we are almost there, around 55 minutes on this call, Raja. Before me closing, let me ask you two other questions. You are based in Kerala, India. I'm from that state. I love the state, but the question is, why Kerala? Was it an accidental choice, or why you chose to be in Kerala? I'm happy that you are
There
in Kerala, but I am asking this question.
there are a couple of reasons why they decided to build Beagle Security based out of Kerala. Uh, Even though it was a very planned decision, like we are based out of Trivandrum actually. The availability of talent pool in Kerala is unmatched. Like there is a lot of young talent available who are enthusiastic about working in a startup and then building something remarkable. Like that is the needed thing from each and every employees we have. Like if they are okay to work in a startup and building something that and everything else, if they consider that, then only they can work in a company like us. And also uh, like the security engineers or the colleges which provide the security cyber security courses are compared to other states. I think Kerala is better in that case always. Also this highest literacy rating is very high in Kerala. It's around 94 percentage uh, of also Kerala continue to be the role model of for the other states in the country when it comes to the education, I think.
So, and I
And
agree with that. See, connectivity is good. Educate a lot of universities and colleges around. Attritions are less. I personally tried multiple times to find a job in Kerala, but I never got it. So that's why I specifically asked why. Why I mean, it's a welcome move. Why you chose on that? It is
also the
great.
time zone advantage offered
Yeah, that's a
may
big
not be
one.
as convenience as it's like in UK, US, we do get a small portion of that time in sometime in the time there.
That's true. So, what is next for Bagel Security? I know you are growing exponentially. Great work, a lot of customer satisfaction. Customer retention is excellent for you. So, what is next for Bagel Security? This is my last question before concluding.
Like I think I mentioned something in the previous answers. Like we are working some exciting problem statement. Like API security is a wide open playing field, and as of today, and we hope to have major updates on API automation side. This year we'll be completing like will be the best tool that could automate an API penetration testing in the best way. That's in the pipeline. We'll be releasing the next version of the API penetration testing. And as I mentioned, down the line, we are planning to release network penetration testing module and also a mobile application penetration testing module as well, and also a cloud infrastructure review, quick configuration check kind of. That's
That is That's heavily required because a lot of cloud instances, a comprehensive way to understand the posture is missing for the security team most of the time. So I think you, from the community, it's a request that you have to prioritize it and make it available for the community. So where they can
Yeah.
actually do, because I understand you do a lot on certificates from an external footprinting where you have a lot of free tools available where you do that, and you are continuously developing more plugins and tools for the community. I think great
Yeah.
on that. Please continue the journey on that way.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Well, we most probably will
And
be
when you're
releasing.
writing the next book, consider me also. I'll be happy to participate on that.
Sure. Yeah. Already in progress. Like I'll connect. Sure.
Perfect on that. So thank you very much for everybody who joined this call today. Truly appreciate your time. And Raja can be Raja. What is the best way to reach out to you if somebody has from an
Uh,
academic, business wise, anywhere they need an interest? How do they reach out to you?
LinkedIn will be a a best option, or you send an email to rejah@beaglesecurity.com. That's also fine.
Perfect. And Raja, thank you for agreeing for this call. And it's a truly a lot of informative. I learned a lot. Thank you for that, and thank you for everybody who joined. And have a good day ahead. Thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good day. Bye.